Greg McElroy from ESPN back here on the Rich Eisen Show. It has been some time since we've had you on. How you doing, Greg? What's going on?
Good to be with you, Rich. I like that you're already giving us some sleepers to be thinking about here come fantasy football season. Like, that was what I needed. I hadn't been thinking Bucky Irving early, but now
you have to.
It might be front of mind.
Well, Greg, I also it's you know, talking about fantasy football is like talking about your poker hand. Everybody's had bad beats. You know what I mean? But the bottom line, though, is we don't know what the hell we're doing. It's all a dart throw. You know that, right?
Don't allow me to walk you through my 87 that I shot on Sunday either, because nobody wants to hear about that either. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where we're at. Fantasy football, your golf round, your poker hand, all those things fall into the same umbrella. We don't need to worry about it. Just keep it to yourself. Nobody wants to hear about it, right?
I like it. Greg McElroy, let's jump in. August 30th, it's as big as a start to the college football season as anybody can remember. Texas versus the Ohio State. The Ohio State has just named a new starting quarterback. Tell me about this individual, please, Greg McElroy.
Well, Julian Sayin he started his career at Alabama. Nick Saban retires. He transfers to Ohio State. He's had ridiculous pedigree. Really, really talented young man, throws a beautiful football. The big question with Ohio State is really about decision-making. They have such good players, such good personnel, really all over the field. A running back, a wide receiver, Jeremiah Smith's the best player pound for pound in college football by a mile at wide receiver. They have a really good foundational center along the offensive line. They just need a guy that's not going to turn it over, because they are breaking in a few new pieces on defense. They're going with the redshirt freshman. That, I think, was the biggest holdup and what took so long, because Julian Sayin was maybe trying a few things early in camp that he probably shouldn't have been trying. And when you have Texas week one, you don't have the luxury of kind of learning on the job. You got to be ready to roll week one. But it sounds like in the last 7 days, he's kind of separated himself from Lincoln Keenholz, who was a junior, had been in the system for a while. And he now has the highest ceiling by a mile of those that were involved in the quarterback competition. So it sounds like they're kind of banking on the future, but the fact that he won the job outright in fall camp might have you feeling pretty confident about what he might be able to do to Texas.
New parts on defense for the Buckeyes, the defending national champions. That also includes a new defensive coordinator as well. It's good that they have potentially the best player in college football on that side of the ball in Caleb Downs, who I think we're going to hear his name quite quickly next April in Pittsburgh. What about that side of the ball for Ohio State, Greg?
It should be really good. I mean, they bring in an experienced defensive coordinator that has coached at all levels. And Matt Patricia, guy's got a ton of experience. He obviously has been a head coach at the NFL level and has been with Belichick, understands tendencies, and he's got great personnel. They've recruited so well, Rich, that it's, even though there's a huge drop-off in returning production, they have superstars at certain places. They have a superstar that you referenced in Caleb Downs, who, while he might not make your fantasy draft next year as a defensive back, probably a guy that if he played offense, he might be the best player on the field if he played offense. He's just that talented. They have great linebacker play, and they have a very disruptive defensive front, but they're going to be young. And when you are going with a lot of young players, relatively speaking, you're probably going to have a few mistakes. Now, with young players, you have high highs, you have low lows. We've seen it in the NFL, we've seen it in college, we've seen it in high school, it doesn't matter. You just can't allow those lows to get you beat. And while they might run into a hard game against Texas, who does have a lot of returning production, they still, I think, down the road will be playing their best football in November, in December, when it really matters. And with where we've gone from a playoff format, we're now getting to the point where it doesn't really matter how well-oiled you are as a machine in September, but if you're cooking with gas in November, December, January, and you're peaking at the right time, those are the teams that will win the national championship, like Ohio State did a year ago.
Okay, and Greg, this is rare for me to call timeout in the middle of an interview because I'm a little confused. Matt Patricia, Chris, he's the new defensive coordinator at Ohio State. Isn't he an offensive coach, though?
Yeah, once upon a time he was an offensive coordinator.
Like a quarterback coach, right? No?
Yeah, right? I think he was actually the offensive coordinator. Yeah.
Where was that? Where was that? Okay.
That was for the Patriots.
Okay. Sorry, Greg, we're back here on the Rich Eisen Show with Greg McElroy. Your expectation level for Arch Manning is what, Greg?
All of our expectation level is through the roof. It's probably unfair, Rich.
Okay.
I mean, you've followed the Manning family for as long as you can remember, I would imagine.
Yep.
My favorite player of all time is Peyton Manning, and that no one will ever. It doesn't matter what Mahomes does from this point forward. Peyton will always be number one. And for me, I have just kind of long expected Arch to be the next guy up in the lineage that is the Manning family. And it's a little unfair because he's a young man that is still going to be starting his first game against quality competition on the 30th of August. We've seen him play start against two teams. That was Mississippi State last year. They had the 126th ranked defense in the country, and against Louisiana Monroe. He also got ample amounts of time against UT San Antonio. So we've never really seen him play against the top tier competition in a significant role in meaningful snaps. Now, he's had situations where he's been utilized with quarterback run and things like that, and he's really athletic. That's what I don't think a lot of people realize with Arch is he's one of the more athletic quarterbacks in the entire SEC. But our expectation level is for him to walk away with the Heisman Trophy. He's just 6-1 right now from an odds standpoint to take home the Heisman. For a guy that's only started 2 games in his career and against lower level competition, that's absurd. And while the name and the recognition and the hopes are really high, there might be some growing pains early in the season. That's to be expected. But right now he's starting here. There's really only one way to go before we level out and come back to reality. So I think he's going to be amazing. I really believe that. But at the same time, if there are a couple struggles early on, I'm not going to panic because that's to be expected for a young starter that has never really been in this situation before.
I've got Greg McElroy here on the Rich Eisen Show, who I guess outside of Texas and Ohio State, do you think have the shot? How many are there? Let's walk me through. Tell me the schools that you think really have the shot to go into the playoffs, go on a run, and win it all. Because it's now a different world, right? Like
it is.
Even with Texas and Ohio State, we were talking about the other day, if this was 5-10 years ago, the loser could be out, period. End of story. They will not make the final podium. Different story now, though. So who do you have for me, Greg?
As we learned last year, Notre Dame went all the way to the championship game and lost to Northern Illinois. So what you do early is not necessarily an indicator of future results.
Yep.
This, though, Rich, and this is not me being a water carrier for the sport, because I want people to be invested. I actually genuinely believe, I think there are 15 teams that could legitimately win the national championship this year.
15 teams.
15.
Okay.
And what's even more remarkable, Rich, is that if you want to just talk about making the playoff, I have as many as 37 teams that could make the playoff this year. And that includes 9 in the Big 12 because the Big 12 will send their champion. I think there's 9 teams in the Big 12 that could win that conference overall. The SEC has 12 teams that could make the playoff this year. Because if you look at last year, no one had Indiana going 11-1 and making the playoff.
Right.
They were 3-9 the year before. No one had Arizona State at 4-8 the year before, making the playoff and giving Texas all they want. They lost in double overtime in the quarterfinals to the Longhorns. Nobody really saw those teams doing those things. So I think the opportunity is there. And with the transfer portal and new rosters looking the way they look, you could totally be different from what you were the year before. So if we're going to go through it, teams that I think could win it, the obvious and usual suspects. You mentioned Ohio State, you mentioned Texas. Those go without saying. I would add Penn State to that mix this year. They bring everybody back. I would add Clemson to that mix this year. They are fantastic. Like Penn State, bring just about everybody back. Notre Dame, they got to figure out quarterback. I think they're going to be fine there. They just need a manager at that position. Could be great on defense and good along the offensive line. Great run game. They're in the mix. Georgia's in the mix, as always. Bama's in the mix, as always. LSU has arguably the best quarterback returning in college football. They're in the mix, assuming their offensive line plays really well. I would put Oregon in the mix. They're very, very young, but they're outrageously talented. So if they mature quickly, they could be one of the players at the very end. Carson Beck's at Miami. He replaces Cam Ward, but Carson Beck 2 years ago was supposed to be the first overall pick last year. Didn't materialize. He now gets a fresh start at Miami, and they have everything else you could possibly want along both lines of scrimmage. I think South Carolina has Lenore Sellers, who has one of the highest ceilings at quarterback in the entire country. I also think Oklahoma is a team that not enough people are talking about right now, but their quarterback, John Mateer, he was at Washington State. That's where Cam Ward was a couple years ago. His numbers were far superior to Cam Ward at Washington State. Now, Cam Ward went on to become the 4th place Heisman Trophy vote getter last year, went on to become the first overall pick. Now John Mateer's at Oklahoma. They're going to be good on defense, but if they can just figure out quarterback, they were 91st last year in total QBR. John Mateer was top 25. That's a 55 spot improvement. So, or a significant improvement, 75 spot improvement, 25, 60, whatever the numbers are. Alabama guy here. Don't know the math, doesn't matter.
Nice.
But if they improve drastically at that spot, that could be a contender as well. It's kind of one of those dark horse teams. There's a few others that I didn't list, but man, there are a lot of teams that could legitimately bring it home this year.
There's one team I didn't hear you mention. Didn't hear you mention Michigan.
I know you wanted me to say Michigan. There has been 2 true freshman quarterbacks that have won the national championship. One was Trevor Lawrence in 2018. If you look at his supporting cast, vastly different than that of what Bryce Underwood's going to be taking the field with, and Jamel Holloway in 1985. So if you have a true freshman quarterback, with all due respect, I'm going to play the odds in this scenario, and I just have a hard time thinking that they're going to be good enough to win the Natty this year. So I hate saying that on your program.
No, it's okay, Greg. These are facts. These are facts. You told me facts. You told me numbers, even though you just basically said, you have trouble with numbers. I understand. I understand all of that. So Bryce Underwood's your level of expectation for him is what? Like giving Michigan a chance at the playoffs and not winning in the playoffs, making the playoffs? Are they? What do you got for me on that front?
They can make the playoffs for sure. If you really look at them last year, think about this. Okay, yards per drop back, which is the number one indicator right now because of the quarterback spot. Yards per drop back, rush yards are affected by sacks, all those things. Yards per drop back last year, Michigan was 130th out of 135 teams. That is unthinkable when you really look at things. So even though
it was difficult to watch, I can't even believe those numbers, to be honest with you.
The other teams behind them were some schools you might not even know existed or played high-level football.
I get it, Greg. You made your point
I'm
about last year.
Not trying to twist the knife, but it's going to be vastly improved.
Sure.
And I still think they'll be good on defense. They should be good running the football. I don't know about his weapons. That is a legit concern. But he's going to be a significant upgrade over what they had last year. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if Michigan is dangerous, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if they get to an 8-4, 9-3, which would have you right on the edge of playoff consideration.
Right.
I just have a hard time thinking they could win 4 games in the postseason with a young quarterback that's still kind of trying to figure things out.
I know. He does quarterback a team that did, however, win a 4th consecutive game against the Buckeyes. Just saying, not, Julian saying, just saying. Greg McElroy here on the Rich Eisen Show. All right, and the Heisman race, give it to me. Well, I know it's silly, mid-August, but we like setting stages at this part of the year. So what do you got for me there?
I'm still voting for Shador this year. I don't even care if he's playing football, I'm still voting for him now.
Okay, I get it. I see you, Greg McElroy.
You know what's funny is the Heisman is a popularity contest, and that's okay. But I do think this could be a year in which it's going to be determined by Heisman moments, like it most of the time is.
Right.
Last year, the sheer quantity of snaps played by Travis Hunter, it was unthinkable that anyone could be able to unseat him. This year, there's a number of guys that would consider. It's going to a quarterback. Didn't go to a quarterback last year. I think it reverts back to a quarterback award this season. Arch Manning's without question the man to beat because he just has so much recognition and so much built-up goodwill amongst the voter pool. But one guy, if I'm going to give you a bit of a sleeper, it would be John Mateer at Oklahoma. Keep an eye on him. Then I would also keep an eye on DJ Lagway at Florida. They have a bunch of big games this year at LSU, at Miami, a game against Georgia there at the neutral site. Florida's schedule is ridiculous. He also plays against Arch Manning head-to-head there in Florida, at Gainesville, in the Swamp. So I do think that there are just so many potential Heisman moments that DJ Lagway could have that I wouldn't be surprised if his name's entered in the conversation as well.
All right, Greg McElroy, greatly appreciate your time. Anything I didn't ask you that I should be asking you about?
I just want to know who to draft in the 7th round. What defense should I take this year in fantasy?
Denver, yeah.
What if they're gone? Give me another one. Pittsburgh's always my go-to. Safe.
The Ravens are always a good one, right?
Philly, Ravens, Steelers.
Yeah. I mean,
Minnesota might be a good sleeper.
Yeah, we're not telling anything that he doesn't really already know. Who are you in a fantasy league with? That we
have a handful of buddies on the block, and I have not won ever. A little too close to it, I think. So I think I need to just pull back, maybe take the reins off, maybe allow my wife to pick a few rounds, and she'll do great because I clearly have no chance.
Is Saban in your fantasy league, Greg?
Occasionally, we try to sneak him in. We send it to his email, and it gets bounced back that email doesn't exist.
Well,
who would have thought that Nick Saban at Bama would wouldn't respond.
We
I don't
all
know.
he has AOL, Greg. Come
Probably.
on. If
they did away with dial-up, though.
Yeah,
I saw that recently.
You know what I mean? We all know. Right? Is he an Earthlink guy?
Earthlink, GeoCities.
Is that he? I think, did we ever ask him this question? I thought we have, haven't we?
I don't know,
you
actually.
both just got in my ear independently and asked.
Oh, did they?
The maddest you ever made, Nick Saban.
Probably recently when I said that it was a possibility, and just talking to folks like maybe Coach would come back. It's like, and it was kind of like a throwaway line. I wasn't trying to break news. Like, I'm an analyst, I'm not a reporter. Like, I don't try to break news. I asked Paul Feinbaum, hey, Paul, do you think Coach would ever come back, essentially? And it became Greg McElroy indicates that Nick Saban might return to coaching. So I think maybe that was it.
Did you hear from him?
No,
did you hear from him? Did Nick call you up and say, what the hell are you saying that for?
No, but last night at the Nick Saban Legacy Award, he did say that I need to get my ASS kicked. So maybe, I've had it kicked many times by him. So I'm perfectly fine by that. Very comfortable at 37 years old. I got plenty of chewings back in college for sure. There are a handful that stand out, but I don't know if we have the time, nor if we're allowed to say those stories here.
Might have a few minutes.
I think we could squeeze one in, Greg. I mean, Or we could follow up with, do you really think Nick is retired? I mean, because I think he would never come back. He wins every single weekend right now.
I think life is good if you're Nick Saban. Play a lot of golf, and the only losses he's experienced right now are $4 to Brad Fax in the putting contest.
Okay.
I think he's in pretty good shape.
Actually, here's one last one for you. What does Belichick's first season look like in North Carolina? What do you think?
It's going to be better than you realize. Like that, when you really look at their schedule, Rich, it's kind of amazing because we are all in the media. We're all looking for that next, hey, Coach Prime type of experience.
Sure.
Like we're something to kind of rally around, to have something that's polarizing. And then I'm starting to kind of dive into their personnel. The personnel will tell you nothing. There's too many new faces, too many new pieces. There's no telling what they're going to look like offensively or defensively. But then you look at the schedule. And amongst the Power 4 schedules in college football this year, it might be one of the most manageable. And I'm not saying it's easy. I'm just saying it's manageable with how it lays out. They have TCU on Labor Day night. That's Monday night. It's at home. That's one of their toughest games. They get through that one where they're a slight dog. TCU is going to be pretty good. They get through that one. They're going to be 4-0 coming off a bye with Clemson coming to them. They'll be a double-digit dog in that game, but at home, you never know. Throw your best punch, and we'll see what happens. After that Clemson game, let's say they lose it, they're 4-1. They will be favored in every game. Right now, all look-ahead lines, so it could adjust. They'll be favored in every game up until the final game of the season where they go on the road to NC State. So they beat TCU, they lose to Clemson. They could be 10-1 before they go on the road to Raleigh to play against the Wolfpack. And we know that if you're 10-1 or better, 10-2 or better, you're going to be in the playoff mix. I'm not suggesting that happens because there's too many questions about the personnel, but the schedule is really favorable. And if he beats the teams he's supposed to beat, they might find themselves in like the top 15 this year, which would be mind-blowing to think what he might do in college football.
Let's get Belichick's Carolina Tar Heels in the playoffs and see what happens. Seriously, Belichick is, and that would spook any opposing coaching staff. Bill Belichick in a win-or-go-home situation, you versus him. Okay, let's roll. I can't wait to see it. Greg, thanks for the time. We'll chat down the line, certainly during the college football season. Appreciate the time.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
That's Greg McElroy here on The Rich Eisen Show. Catch The Rich Eisen Show live weekdays from 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern on Roku Sports Channel in the U.S.